Guten Tag and hello. Welcome back to the Märklin Outsider, where I'm continuing my series on the Märklin System. To recap the first 4 episodes, Märklin, the largest model train company in the world, based in Göppingen, Germany, created in the 80s, but technically it really didn't start gaining its momentum until the 90s, a digital integrated system that would be equally pleasing to a beginner model train hobbyist as well as the most experienced pro. Märklin was so committed to this that today everything they do is digital, and it's based on their digital system, including their digital system friendly track, which I talked about in a previous episode, the C-track. Märklin also makes K-track for the purist, people that don't like the look of the C-track, but I'm talking about this entire system. And last episode I talked about C-track. In this episode, how do you get started? How do you control your trains once you get started? This is digital. Märklin does do non-digital, but their trains, which all have chips in them, are designed to work on their non-digital systems without you having to do any modification. When you're doing DC and DCC, some don't cooperate with each other. In Märklin, you can run your digital trains on your analog system. Now, I'm not going to talk about the non-analog system. And Märklin has what's called the Delta. That is their basic analog controller. It's the same controller everybody in the world had. Quick picture of it here. It basically has a speed dial, and you can control a couple of trains with it, but that's it. Märklin does have a form of the Delta for people who prefer the Delta called the Delta Digital, which allows you to control up to 4 or 5 trains. Picture again, Delta Digital. And it allows you to use some functions. It has up to, I think, 4 functions. Since I don't use it, and I've actually never seen one personal, all I can tell you is what I've read and seen in YouTube video. So, the basic digital controller for Märklin is what is called the Mobile Station 2. There's an earlier generation of it called the Mobile Station 1. But the Mobile Station 2 came out around 2013, 2014, and it comes in 2 varieties, a gray and a black, but it's the same one. They just now make them black to match the central station, which we'll discuss in a later video. When I say basic, this is their primary. This is the one that they expect you to start with until you're ready to move up to more advanced control systems. So, how does the Mobile Station work? Well, I'm going to show you. This is the system you get when you buy a starter set and you want a digital controller. The Mobile Station is the one you're going to find out there. It's not inexpensive. The controller itself, you can pick up somewhere between $80 to $100, but then you have to buy its power system. And you can buy it all as a kit, which runs somewhere between $125 and $150. Or you can buy them separately. Or if you buy what's called the Märklin Startup, which is a basic train kit with basic C-track, and they often come with a MS2 controller. You can get it without the Mobile Station 2 or with the Mobile Station 2. You can get starter sets that have it or don't have it, so you're not constantly collecting them. But if you're going to start up, they have specifically what are called startup sets, which have the controller in it. And so you get a basic train and cars, whether passenger or freight, and you get a controller. And when you add up the price of the individual things in it, they're actually a great deal. You can pick up starter sets for anywhere from about $180 up to about $340. But you're getting a train, track, and the controller all in one. And so for a basic digital introduction, a Märklin startup set with controller is a great way to go for not a lot of money compared to the rest of the things in the hobby. So let's look at the Mobile Station 2. All right, here I propped up my Mobile Station 2 against a block of wood just to help with the camera angle so I can point out some of the basics. This is designed like a game controller, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. And so it fits comfortably in your hands and thumb operated. The biggest difference between this and the original Mobile Station is the original Mobile Station had a dial on to the right side, and many people felt that that was a little unfriendly to us left-handers, and so they moved the dial to the middle. Now, the red dial is a callback to your old analog days. This is where you control the speed of a train. In analog days, you turned the dial up, you increased the electricity, that caused the train motor to go faster, and that's how analog systems still work. But in digital, all the trains have a microchip, and this sends a signal to the chip and tells the chip to then tell the motor to increase its speed without increasing electricity. The chip, the microchip, controls the functions of the trains now, so you don't have to increase electricity. So this is your speed control, but it also helps you dial through aspects of the menu. The 4 dials on the side, on each side, 4 on each side, control the functions, but again, they also help you scroll in and out of the menus, which I'll demonstrate in a couple of minutes. One of the things that's kind of nice is when you go to load a train in, it already has a several thousand long list of trains preloaded into it. All Märklin. It has Märklin. Usually the most recent and most popular trains released, but it's got several thousand of them already preloaded into here. So that technically, hopefully, when you put your train on, if it's in this database, it will just automatically load it. You don't have to do anything. No programming, no telling it to search, nothing like that. So you have your display, and I'll try to go through the different functions quickly. I know I say quickly, and then it's a 25-minute video. So let's look at loading and operating a train. Before we get started, just going to demonstrate I'm on my sideboard, my left-hand sideboard work table. I've cleared it off and I have built just a quick track here. I am doing something that I would tell everybody not to do. Remember, kids, don't try this at home. I did not put any buffer track here, so my train runs in absolute danger of going off the table. I'll probably put a block of wood there just to be safe. And same thing at the other end. This is not what you want to do, but I'm only demonstrating putting a train on and going through some of the functions. Now, I have 2 trains here. This is the second train I ever bought. Well, second locomotive. It's not a train. I apologize to purists. This is a BR-146-2. That's Baureihe. BR is Baureihe, which just means model number. But it's a 146-2 locomotive, and this was kind of the linchpins of the German regional traffic. This was one of their primary regional traffic locomotives for Deutsche Bahn. And then this is my newest locomotive, which just came in last week. This is my BR-101. And this is the primary locomotive for the high-speed German trains known as the ECs or ICs, the intercities. Those are the slower high-speed trains, single-decker cars. And I just a couple of days ago got all my cars in for this now, so I now have a complete train. I'll demonstrate those on the Model Train Outsider page. Anyhow, I'm going to load these 2 trains onto my mobile station. This one is in the database. This one is not. This is a Pico, so it won't be in the database. However, as soon as Märklin releases one of these with its built-in chip and database,
it's not obsolete, but any train that Märklin has programmed and released after this was released is obviously not in the database. How do you update the database? Well, Märklin says you need to plug this in to a Central Station 3, and through the Central Station 3 you tell it to update the database of the mobile station. I'll show that when I demonstrate the Central Station 3 in the next video. So now I'm just going to show you how to load a train in and how to operate it basically with this and explain how to work it all. Okay, I apologize for the camera angle shifting around. I'm trying to work this from behind the camera so I can make sure what I want to show you is in shot. Now, the easiest way to load a train is you take your train and you put it on your track. All right, so my BR-146-2 is on the track, so I get my mobile station here, if I can get it to focus. Well, get the camera to focus. All right, now if you look here, I'll zoom this in and hopefully we won't get too much blurring. Camera screens hate computer screens. You have this row here. You'll notice that there's two train face symbols there. That means 2 train slots have already been filled. Then you have a bunch of dots. That means they're empty. So if you look up here, it says no Loco. And as always, we are in the default stop mode. The default setting is stop. If you want trains to go, you click stop. But it says missing confirmation, meaning, hey, you're trying to run a train. There's no train there. So that's what we're going to fix here. Now, to load a train, you'll notice, see this right here? I put the 146 on, and it automatically loaded. It found it. And it actually found my changed name for it because I had loaded this and then I changed the name of it with my Central Station 3. It automatically found it. It had an MFX, which is the new Märklin chip. I didn't have to do anything. I just put it on. It was already in the database. And in the database, it would have been 1462, but I had changed the name. And by changing the name, the decoder changed the name. So my Central Station changed the value of it. But when I put it on the mobile station guided track, this is not connected to my Central Station at all. This is just some track I threw down and connected this. It automatically read it, including the name change I put on the chip. The RE4411 is a train I ride in Germany a lot. It goes from Delmenhorst to Bremen, but you don't care about that. So now that it's automatically read, because it was it was already in the database, it just plug and play. This is the simplicity I'm talking about. If it's in the database, you don't have to worry about CV values. You don't have to worry about anything. It just automatically loads in. You're ready to play with your train. The time it took you to set up the loop of track, plug this in, and set the train on, you're ready to play. That's the Märklin integrated system at its finest. Oops, excuse me, pardon me. All right, so now that it's there, here we have our issues. We have our function symbols here. Now, this is not the most advanced screen or display system, so the function symbols are rather basic, okay? Now, this symbol here, I'll try to bring this up, looks like a light bulb sticking sideways. This is your headlights. And this is to turn off your rear tail lights if you're connecting cars. So you got the directional lights, let's call it that way, your front and rear lights. And by hitting this, if I were to hit this, that activates, even though it lights up, that actually means you've turned your tail lights off. All right. You have your basic sound functions here. Now, on a mobile station 2, you have just this little speaker system, and this could be operating the train, air brakes. You'd have to look at the owner's manual that comes with the locomotive to decide what that is. Then you have horns. You have your horn functions. I can demonstrate those. And then these 4 buttons on each side control each function. So I turn that on, and the lights are on. If the train has more than 8 functions, you hit the shift button and the symbols will change. So I hit the shift button and you'll see 4 more functions are on here, although they always keep the F1 function, the lights function there. So actually it's 3 more sound functions are available there. So it's all there. That's the beauty of it. When you want to run the train, here's your directional arrows. Can you see those? You got, this says that the train's supposed to be going that way. Now that's not guaranteed the directional train will go because I may have put it on the wrong way around because it reads the ski actually. And I just put it on the track. So you may just, if I were to speed it up and it starts going the wrong way, I just turn the loco around and then the directional arrow will match. Many people don't worry about that. You know, they just know that the arrow's pointing one way, the train's going to go one way, and if you want to go the other way. To make it go the other way, you press the red button. That's your directional changer, so it's your speed and directional. You want the train to stop and make sure nothing's working, you hit the stop mode. And you should always do any train work you're doing in stop mode or with the power off. I'll say that now. So all your functions are already there. It's just the functions are not as well defined through the symbiology. Now, what if you don't like the way this is set up? If you hit shift, shift activates these other functions. Now, let me go through all these. You got your stop button, you got your train directional, and again, pardon the shaky thumb here. You hit shift and train, and now you get into your configure loco. This is where you can change anything you want to change. It's also where you will manually add a locomotive if it wasn't automatically read. So this is your scroll down side. So just, you know, whatever's on one function. So this is making your choices. And usually it's just these 2 buttons here. And then on this side to scroll through, you'll have, watch how this changes. So like, do I want to add a new loco? That's the button I would press to add my 101. I'd put my 101 on the track and I'd add that. I just click new loco and it'll give me choices of, do I want to find it? Do I want to enter it manually? Change loco. This is the button I would hit. Now, since it's the second choice, I use the second of the 2 middle buttons. Change loco. Do I want to change its name? Do I want to change its address? It's that simple. The address might be 10 on this, but I've got another loco on address 10. I can change it to whatever address I want that fits within the protocols. I think it's up to 999. I could be wrong on that. Somebody can correct me. And then I can scroll through the down menu. Do I want to change the loco symbol? All right, let's say I don't like that picture of my locomotive, even though that's the defined one. So I have a scroll down menu, whoops, that gives me all kinds of locos. There's the ICEs, your various steam. So these symbols are designed to match. You can even add a picture or just have a blank space. So it just gives you all these different symbols. Now, once I've done whatever I want to do, I want to get out, that's what this is your back button, like on your smartphone or whatever else. Curl back, now I'm back to that screen. And I'd hit it again if I just wanted to get out of this page. But all the things I can change. So there's loco symbol, and it always goes up one. Loco functions. Do I want to change the address? Do I want to turn on a function? Or do I want to disable a function? Like I really hate the sound function. I just want to disable it. But you can go through and do this. Maximum velocity. Minimum velocity. Acceleration, how quickly the train starts up. Deceleration, how quickly it slows down. I can change all these values quickly and easily through this controller. All right, so let's go back. Change loco. There are certain things that are disabled, like program CV. I can't program the CVs on this right now because I have it in a setup state. And to program at CVs, I have to do a couple of extra steps, which I don't want to get into right now. This is for starters. This is the basic. But notice that even for pros, there's a lot of things you can do with this. You can write a local card. In other words, I can put a blank card in here and have it write all the data from this train on that card. Then when I go to somebody else's house or layout, and they have a central station 3 or 2 or even 1, because those also have the slot in them, I can just plug that card in and my train's ready to go on their layout. These cards are amazing. I only have one train that has a card, my Brava. Brava makes cards for the Märklin system when Brava makes an AC version train, when they make a train for the Märklin system. So this little hand controller goes through. Free Loco is if I want to just take it off control so it can't be controlled. Why would I do that? Well, let's say I am doing a running session with somebody else, and I've set up a master and a slave mobile station, as I demonstrated earlier. Well, I can free this Loco, which means I can't control it. Only the other controller could control it. It prevents me from accidentally messing with their controls. So I can free a Loco. Reset Loco. Let's say I screwed something up. I was trying to change something, I didn't like it. Well, every locomotive chip has a default setting, and if you hit Reset Loco, it goes back to the original factory defaults. Remove Loco. That's when you want to delete it. Say, I don't want this locomotive on this device. Somebody came over, loaded their locomotive, played around a bit, but you have 11 locomotives and you don't want that one on it, so you delete it. That's your delete. That's all these functions. It is amazing. So let's hit back and just go back to the train control screen. All right. Now, I haven't talked about this button. If I click this button, and again, I'll try to zoom in, notice how that looks like a turnout. That's exactly what that is. With this controller, not only can I control my trains, I can hit this, and now all my turnouts that are digital can be controlled. Otherwise, you have to operate them manually. Red is that it's closed, and therefore the train would not go through the turnout. It would just stay straight. Green is the train will now take the train will take the turnout. And you just flip them back and forth. Now this is in stop mode, so I can't do it. But that's what you do. And again, if you want to program or add, you've put a digital decoder and motor on your turnout, and you want to add a digital. Again, shift is where you reach functions. You hit the shift button to reach the functions. These are controlling them now that they're already in. Shift is where you get to the function. So if I want to add a signal or a turnout, I would hit shift and do this. And now I can start controlling my turnouts, and it gives you the choices. But it also allows me to control my MS2. For example, if I were to plug this into my central station 3, I'd hit shift MS2 information, and I would start getting it downloaded. But it's also how I can program in new turnouts, lights, signals, what have you. I would get through there, again, just going through the scroll down menu. So, as you can see, yes, this is $100 roughly. You can get them on sale or buy them used. This is, let me go back to train control now. And now I got to hit train button again. So now I'm on train control. But for a simple handheld function, this is so much easier than, I don't want to anger people, but you look at some of the Gauge Master handheld controllers and so forth. There's so much bouncing back and forth. Now, the one negative about this controller, besides the fact that you're not completely mobile, where you could go anywhere in a room and control your trains, you're limited by the length of the cord. That's one drawback. The one negative is most people to go through your trains. For example, this train button. You want to add a Loco, you just hit the train button, it moves on to the next train. That's how you control your trains. You are sort of linear in control. Now, you can hold the train button and use the dial, and that will steer you through the trains. You hold the shift button, and you can dial through your trains that way, and you can see the other two trains I've got added. But, this way you can go left and right. But it's still kind of linear. You can only have one train. And notice I did it the hard way after demonstrating that. But you can only control one train at a time with this. You have to constantly shift back and forth. But that's no different than anybody else's controller. But it's nice, it's handy, it's user-friendly. You grab this and you run your trains. You grab this and you just run your trains. It's so easy. And yet for the pros, outside of having to dial through your different trains, you can run 10 trains at the same time on this, as long as you're keeping an idea and making sure nobody crashes. But you can do everything you can on one of those large control systems except program an entire layout. Design and program an entire layout. This is easy enough. Kids can do this. Children can do this, and yet adults heavily into the model train industry would not be offended by using this or thinking this was too simple. The drawback with this is the limited number of trains you can actually operate with it, and your symbology for your different functions on your trains aren't the clearest. So you got to remember, okay, this is train operating, this is train operating sounds, this is coupling sounds. You got to kind of memorize all that. But easy as 1, 2, 3. Station announcements. Yeah, it was in German. What do you expect? Your train engine startup sounds and running sounds getting ready to go. And I'll turn those off. But that's the beauty of this. Now, what happens if your train's not in the system? Well, excuse yourself. Well, I'm going to try to show that. The thing is, let's bring this guy in. This Pico, we're going to slide this Pico in here right now. This Pico 101. This is by Pico. It's a different company. Now, this was their low end, and so it came with a cheap Pico chip that ran lights and just a couple of basic sounds. My beloved train guy out in California, which is, about 2,700 miles from here, he built this up for AC. This was a DC train. He built it up for 3 rail, and he put a Märklin MFX chip in it. So I'm very curious. I have not put this with an MS2. I've only loaded this onto my Central Station 3. So I'm going to see, will this do an automatic read or not? So I'm going to try to load another train. Now, when you're doing this, the best thing to do is make sure you're in stop mode. Technically, you don't have to do this. This is not a programming track. This would be the loop on a layout that I'm running my trains on. But I'm going to go ahead and take this train off. When I'm adding a new train, technically I don't have to take it off. It will read. But if I start trying to monkey with it, get all the other trains off. If I start trying to change volumes, make sure all your other trains are off, or you use what we call a programming track. So I'm going to put this guy on. And I'm going to see, and this also prevents those skis can accidentally, if you go to put this on, as you see me struggling because I'm trying to make sure it's on camera while I'm doing it, and line up my wheels and make sure they're all on. Now what I'm going to do is hit the train, and I'm going to see when I take it off stop, I'm going to wait a few seconds and see if it just starts. Yes. So it's going to read it right away. When that little MFX starts reading, that means, Andrew Chevalier, you did too good a job. I can't demo this. All right, so I'll have to do it the hard way. But see, all the functions are on. This is an inexpensive model, so he put a good chip in it, but it's only got 7 functions. Only 7. I apologize if that offends you by me saying only 7, but I am a bells and whistles guy. So let's look at what you would do if there was no locomotive there. So I'll click here. So I'll hit Shift, Loco, and I go to My choices are to add a loco from loco list. So I'll just demonstrate it. And then it just goes through, this is like add a loco from the list I already have, or from, like if I were to attach this to the Central Station 3, the list of trains I have on there that are not on here, it would let me do it that way. So we go back. Okay, from database. All right, that's the pre-built-in database. So I hit from database. Now, it starts at, it's alphanumeric based on Märklin's numbering system. Märklin's old analog early digital system was a 4-number, now they're 5-number. So you now have, and I'll just do this slowly, this can take a long time, because there are hundreds and hundreds of trains in here. It just keeps scrolling until you get through all those numbers. But now, if, let's say I'm trying to add model number 39821, which would be a BR200 150, I would just click this button here, and boom, it loads all of that train settings, and then you just test it out to see if it works. That's how you do it. The hardest part is if I scroll down, whoops, hit the wrong button again. I scroll down, enter manually. That's my last choice. I hit enter manually, and then what it does is it gives me an option of, is it a Märklin Motorola 2? That was their second generation. It gives me what type of decoder is it? MM2 programmable, which makes basically is a generic one that people might put in. Or is it DCC? This older model does not list MFX, but as you noticed, the MFX decoders were read quite easily from these two trains. So MFX is still Märklin Motorola, it's just a slightly upgraded. It uses the same programming language, thus this can still read it. But the newer MS2s, Mobile Stations 2, have an MFX, because Märklin has now released in the last couple of years what's called MFX Plus. And the MFX Plus allows you to do a special function on the Central Station 3. I'll demonstrate that when I do the Central Station 3. So that is a run through of how to run your train system, digital train system, with a Mobile Station 2. It is so user-friendly. It is so intuitive. It is so integrated. You saw, even when it was a different train company, because the guy put a MFX chip in it, it's just auto-read. The only thing you have to do with these is update. And I will demonstrate that in the next video, because Märklin just released an update for the Central Station 3 that also has updates for the Mobile Station. And primarily updates for the Mobile Station are simply adding new trains to the list. So this is older. It was updated, about 6-7 months ago, I think 8 months ago, the last time I had it plugged into my Central Station 3. And so all the new trains that have been released since the middle of 2018 and into 2019 probably are not in this database. All right, so that is a rundown of the Mobile Station 2 and how to run it. Now some of you are saying, hey, we didn't really see you run a train. Well, I wasn't really going to completely run. I just wanted to show you how it did things. I didn't necessarily want to do a review and show you all the functions, just that how quickly everything loads up. But if you're really that interested, I'll click it on, make sure it's going the right way so it's not going the short way, and I take it off of stop mode. You already heard the horns. You hear those sounds starting up. It's getting ready to move. I could hit the lights, but I'm not going to move the camera just so you can see the headlights. But trust me, the headlights are working. I think if you look here, you actually might see them going. And then I'll do the directional change. And I don't know if you can see, they are glowing red here. But there you go. And I just turn my dial and the speed indicator goes up. And there it goes. And before it goes off the table, I'll hit stop. And that's the nice thing about stop. It's an auto kill. Everything automatically stops. No deceleration. If I were to just try to turn this down, it would decelerate. But as you can see, it got over there pretty quickly and before it went off the end of the table. So anyhow, that is using the Mobile Station 2. Again, to just repeat myself. Could you see in this video how quickly intuitive and integrated the Märklin system is? The wire is in the track. I don't have to run a ton of wires. I can hide the wire all the way under till I do it to the drop bit, but this was just a quick wiring, so I've got the wiring coming off there. It's just plug and play. I plug these in, power in, we go. I plug this in, I put my train on, this reads the train's ready to roll. You have to do nothing except enjoy your train. That's the Mobile Station 2, Märklin's basic digital controller, or maybe I should say primary. I think the Delta Digital would be basic because that's your lowest end. But basic as in this is the one you start with. If you're going to do digital, you start here. Get yourself a starter set. Again, you can get one that's $200 to $250. That's a lot of money, especially if you're a young person. However, as you see, you can do everything. Controlling all your functions. I'm sorry to keep bumping the tripod. Controlling all your functions, including your turnouts and everything else. You can manually operate or not manually, you can digitally operate your digital turnouts. And I did a video about how to do that in the Model Train Outsider series. So, from the Märklin Outsider, I'd like to say Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains.